What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another live Tuesday night edition of Always Talking Ball. I'm Tyler Noe. He's Lance Barton. We're here to talk about the penultimate college football playoff rankings. And ESPN is getting their show started right now. It's a 30-minute show tonight, so I'm assuming they'll probably get pretty into it after they explain how the playoff is working for the 85th time. Couple things I think we're in agreement that we're looking forward to watching are where Ohio State is placed. That's a big thing for if they're going to host a first round game or not. We're going to talk about obviously Miami, their big hot topic, and then the three SEC teams with three losses there that are kind of bunched up. How does the committee rank them? And as they start off with the number 25. Lance says it every time. Just kind of pay attention who they rank there. That might tip you off to who might be in that 10, 11, 12 spot. So, and then we'll go through a couple scenarios, a little G5 scenario for you that I brought up earlier today. Let's talk about it and we'll have a good time.
Yeah, just for example, there when Tyler was like, talking about who do you think that they may slide in there in the back end of the rankings to try to justify who they rank ahead of who. Here we go. We're getting started now. Louisville's the team that I'm looking for here in the back end of the rankings.
Yep.
Memphis is at 25.
That
Big
helps
win
out.
over.
That helps out Florida State, so that's good.
So that's the same. So that's the same as the AP poll, right?
Yeah,
Memphis
Army jumps back
25,
in.
Army 24. Yeah.
They're moving tonight, folks. They are moving fast.
Yes, they are. They know that everybody wants to hear what people have to say about these rankings. There's
Colorado up 2 spots. Okay.
Yep, Coach Prime and the Buffs at 23.
Syracuse jumping in after the win over Miami to number 22.
Nice.
Big huge win for Fran Brown.
Louisville's not going to be in there then.
No, they're not.
And neither is LSU.
So Illinois stays in. Okay.
All right. So Illinois is at 21. How about Fran Brown and the Qs, bro? What a year for him. And
yeah, we were high on them in the summer, so that's good. UNLV number 20. Okay.
The Rebs number 20. Go offense. Dude, his name, by the way, the OC there at UNLV is being mentioned a lot.
Yep.
For some openings right now. There's your favorite team, Mizzou.
Resilient all year, just staying in the top 25. Resilient.
So that means there's certain teams out there now that have 3 wins in the current committee's top 20.
Mm-hmm.
BYU at 18, and we'll get to them here in a little bit.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point about them earlier. They're too low, man. They're too low.
Yeah, they just haven't. They didn't look good.
Agreed.
I mean,
they don't pass the eye test, but their resume is nice.
Yeah.
Clemson dropped 5 spots for losing.
Yeah, that's a little lower. I mean, they're 1 spot above where they are in the AP ranking.
Okay.
They're at 17.
Interesting.
But, that's not terribly surprising, I don't think.
No, it's not. But a 3-point loss where they led the whole ball game and dropped 5 spots. I mean, again, they should drop, obviously, but that's a lot, 5 spots.
Okay,
the Clones. Iowa State, 16. Okay.
So we're going to have number 16 versus number maybe 14, 15?
Yeah.
Maybe 15 versus 16 in the Big 12.
Yep. I wonder where they're going to have the Fun Devils.
Probably 1 spot ahead of them.
Fun Devils, 15. All right. Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham and the boys.
Kenny Dillingham needs me on the committee.
Yeah, he does. You're a big believer in Kenny Dillingham and the Fun Devils at 15. Just a quick note here. I'm going to say it multiple times throughout. We appreciate all of you that are joining us live right now.
Mm-hmm.
These are our favorite episodes. We love going live and giving our just raw reactions here.
Hit us up in the live chat.
Yeah, hit us up. Tyler, you got to show me where to find that. You know me.
South Carolina.
14. Okay. So there's the first.
So head-to-head does, in fact, matter. How about that?
It does.
How about that?
Man, I heard the gasp and the groan here in St. Louis, Missouri. I could hear it all the way in Columbia. No, not Columbia, Missouri. Columbia, South Carolina. There are a lot of Gamecock fans that did not like that.
Yeah, there's Ole Miss.
Ole Miss at 13.
Okay, so I'm thinking it's going to be, man, they didn't put Miami behind those two. I do not be shocked right here if you put Miami at 11, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they put Miami at 12 and Alabama at 11.
Here we go. This is it. Bama fans and Miami fans' fate are right here. Biggest ranking of the night.
We'll see if they really do get the benefit of the doubt, right?
God, you
Slip.
give me.
They're keeping us waiting
It's
here.
great. This is great live stuff right here. Just staring.
Oh, wow.
They did it.
Wow.
They did it. Miami is 12, so that means that Alabama is going to be
That
11.
sound you heard is everybody just throwing their phones at their TVs in disgust. But it's well
The
deserved. I mean, I wouldn't say
Alabama,
well deserved, but it's more deserved. We'll talk about that in a second.
yeah, yeah. So Alabama's going to be at 11, and like you said, I think the majority of the country hates that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. The most folks either wanted South Carolina or Miami. To be honest
And,
with you,
again, I mean, if they just put Miami behind Ole Miss and South Carolina, the Bama, conspiracy theories would go away.
I think
But
so
now,
too.
since they're sandwiched right there behind them, it's like, okay, and you're laughing about it because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do, because it's going to happen, man. But again, we're going to get into this later. Stay tuned with us. There's Alabama at 11. Stay tuned with us. We're going to talk about resumes. We're going to talk about deserving. We're going to talk about best. We're going to talk about whatever. If you're watching and you just would rather
Man,
see, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. Forget we're live. But if you'd rather see a lot of teams ahead of where Alabama's at right now, that's fine. I understand.
I mean, that just totally. They had an easy choice to either put Miami above the 3 or Miami below the 3, and
They went
now
with
they're
neither.
saying like Miami has a better resume than Ole Miss. Like, no, they don't. So it's again, it's inconsistent. It's
It is.
unbelievable.
There's Boise State at 10. We're going to get to your scenario here in a little
Yeah,
bit. Please stick around for that.
yeah.
We've got something that I don't think you've heard anywhere else that Tyler brought up today that was extremely, like, it was fascinating. It really was in regards to
I'm
Boise.
surprised you're that into it because being an Alabama fan doesn't help you at all.
No, it doesn't. But like,
No.
still, man, like it's real.
Yeah.
Like it is. It's a real scenario, and it's something that again I don't think people have thought of.
Yeah.
So there's the Bronco. Microphone's leaving me here. There's the Hoosiers at 9.
Okay. That's to be
So
expected.
Sigs and the boys. Well, obviously, I mean, we knew they were going to be, but
Yeah.
and for all the people out there that they've beaten nobody, you're right. They haven't beaten anybody,
Yeah.
but they beat everybody but one team by two teams. They beat everybody but two teams by a lot of points.
Yeah.
So all of the metrics that you look at in offense, defense, efficiency numbers, all of that, game control, things like that, strength of record,
Yep.
Indiana solid. Strength of schedule, booty. And
Okay.
there's SMU at 8. So the importance of this, we'll get more into it later, is if SMU were to lose to Clemson, the question is, would they fall out of the rankings or fall behind Alabama or not?
It's
I guess
just,
not fall out of the rankings. At this point now, it's
yeah.
will they fall behind Alabama or not? And I'm going to say this right now. If they lose the ACC championship game for playing in an extra game, they should not be out.
Yeah.
They shouldn't.
The fact that it's down to like Alabama has the chance to back in is just it is tearing people's brains up right now.
It is. It is. But hey, Josh Pate warned everybody of this.
Ooh, there's Tennessee. So Ohio State gets the home game.
You're right. There's Tennessee. They are behind. I told you they were going to be behind them.
So yeah,
They're not going to
basically,
drop. Hey, they're not going to drop the world famous Ohio
yeah,
State Buckeyes far.
yeah.
I just try to do my best Gus Johnson impression. I should have cracked my voice and made it like I was like borderline crying, like
Yeah.
he was when Jack Sawyer intercepted that pass.
Yeah.
He's intercepted, Captain Jack.
Yeah. Actually, let's see. Oh wow. Okay, so they do have them sandwiched in between Georgia and Tennessee. I was wondering if they were going to have them ahead of Georgia.
No.
Um,
So again, in this scenario,
but that would definitely avoid the Georgia Tennessee rematch in Athens. So, they said they're gonna try to avoid or not gonna worry about avoiding rematches, but as long as they can justify it, like some would say, okay, they're trying to avoid a possible rematch there.
so right now, help me out here with the math. You're better than this. There's Georgia at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's at 5. Ohio State was 6. Tennessee was 7. SMU was 8. Indiana was 9. Boise was 10. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're Irish at 4. Hey, Nelly getting a bark in for your Irish, bro.
She's yelling because they should be in front of Penn State.
Matt Massaros, our boy, Penn State fan, texted me today and said he was really interested to see where Notre Dame would be in comparison to Penn State.
Yeah, I hope he's watching. That'd be good.
He might be.
Yeah.
So if Notre Dame's at 4, again, you're going to have to help me with the math on some of this and how it works.
Yeah.
Your Liberty Flame education is going to have to come through here. Like, who's going to get that? 5. Penn State's 3. We obviously know who 2 and 1 is going to be. Texas 2, Oregon 1. So if chalk flies,
Chalk flies. Penn State's going to be the 5th seed. Yeah, here we go. So they're going to do the bracket for us. I know. Although chalk flies, Penn State loses, they could drop behind Notre Dame. I mean, you'd still be in the playoffs, so they're going to get iffy here, and they're going to get questionable, especially with like SMU. It's like if they lose, they're not going to stay in the 8th spot. They'll drop to like maybe 10th or 11th, right? If they stay in, so they'll get punished and they'll have to go on the road and play, a tougher opponent.
But you think though that's what Josh Pate was talking about in regards to some of these teams that like are in the extra conference game, teams that are behind them that aren't playing in conference championship games, i.e. Indiana in this situation with SMU. You think Indiana should jump SMU if SMU loses in the ACC championship game? I don't.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. None of those teams are. Yeah, so then.
Like Penn State, for example, like I don't think Penn State should be, even though it is only the second really good team they've played all year,
right?
And they would have lost to them in Oregon.
Yeah.
I don't think they should. I still don't think that if they're ahead of Notre Dame now, Notre Dame's not playing in a game,
right?
Why would Penn State be punished and not get the 5th seed?
It's a fair point. That is a fair point.
By the way, if Alabama does back their way into this, does this mean that there's an excellent chance that it could be our 2 teams squaring off?
I don't know what ATB would do.
We might have to have just a full episode just to break that down. All right, man, let's dive into it. Let's dive into it here.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with, let's just get it out of the way. The certain ranking that was obviously the most like controversial, or the one that everybody was looking forward tonight, which was who was going to be in that 11th slot. Was it going to be Alabama? Was it going to be Ole Miss? Was it going to be South Carolina? Was it going to be Miami? That's really the 4 teams it was between. Right. And it looks like between the SEC teams that head-to-head did end up winning out because Alabama and Ole Miss are both ahead of South Carolina. So let me ask you this. On that part, do you think they got that right? Leaving out Miami for now.
I was looking up some images. What are you saying again? Sorry.
You're good. Do you think they got the order right with Alabama? Not leave Miami out. Between the 3 SEC teams that were in question, do you think they got that order right?
Personally, I've kind of pounded the table for Ole Miss a little bit, but it was pretty like that's the easiest. Like Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, head-to-head, resume, strength of schedule. Alabama's got that. Do I think that Alabama has looked better as a whole, like eye test wise, than Ole Miss? No. So
I don't either.
But I mean, it's you're splitting hairs.
Okay, I want to cover this one part in regards to South Carolina because like that's been the thing that has been like most I think talked about way more than Ole Miss, and in regards to the comparison between Alabama and South Carolina. An amazing job that Shane Beamer has done with this South Carolina team. Lenora Sellers, Stock, Dylan Stewart and Lenora Sellers in this NIL world, both of them should get paid in this offseason and paid by South Carolina because you know that a lot of people are going to be knocking on the doors of both of those guys.
Yeah.
And incredible season. But the argument of that just like they just acted like that these head-to-head matchups didn't happen just blew my mind. And look, I'm all for like South Carolina, like fans of South Carolina. If you want to pound the table for your team and politic and fight for your team, put your opinion. That's fine. Absolutely. You should do that. Every fan should do that for their team. But it got to the point, man, where like talking heads, fans, everybody, dude, it got to the point where people were just like saying stuff that weren't true and
Yeah.
trying to make them sound like they were facts, like we're in some like political debate or like a political race or something. Like for example, all the people saying that South Carolina's like overall resume was better.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Like literally, like I don't know what you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
Alabama now has 3 wins against teams that are in the top 19 in the country.
Right.
And 2 of those wins are top 15 teams, one of which is you, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Now, you said it best earlier. Put the shoe on the other foot, flip-flop the resumes. Would everybody be saying the same thing that Alabama should be in if they lost to South Carolina? If South Carolina had more top-ranked wins? No, they wouldn't.
Only if South Carolina had won 6 national championships in 12 seasons in the past decade and a half.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know. I just don't understand. But like, here's what's true. Like South Carolina has looked incredible the last 6 weeks of college football. And it is absolutely true that Alabama looked awful 2 games ago. Like awful.
10 days ago.
10 days ago. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, here's the reality of this situation, guys. This really is the reality. When we're talking about who's going to be the last team in this 12-team field, every one of those teams are going to always be going forward flawed. They're always going to have flaws.
Yeah.
South Carolina's got 3 losses. South Carolina can barely throw the football. That's a flaw for both of them. They can run the piss out of it with Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders, and they've got an elite defensive line. But they've got a booty offensive line, and they can't throw the ball. Those are flaws. Alabama's the most consistent thing that Alabama has done all year is be inconsistent. Jalen Milroe in the passing game, flaw.
Yeah.
Okay, and so on. Like Ole Miss has flaws. So Miami has flaws. There is no perfect, like, who's the most deserving or who should be, whatever. You've got to look at these resumes to make sense.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go to Miami. Let's talk about Miami. This is pretty simple. If you believe that Miami should be in over, and this has nothing to do with conference affiliations, okay? Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina and Miami. 3 of those teams are in one conference and one is in the other, and I know the conspiracy theories are going to fly, okay? But the fact of the matter is Miami's resume is not better than any of the other 3 teams. They have 0. Look at the rankings right here. Tyler's got them pulled up. Where is the win for Miami of these top 25 teams? I'm still searching. Yeah, I can't find it
for a long time.
You're right. I can't find it. So if you subscribe to the fact that you believe that 10-2, you think 2 losses, that just means that team is better and more deserving than the teams that have 3 losses. If you believe that, then sure, there's going to be no talking you down off of this.
Yeah.
But if one team has 3 wins against teams ranked in the top 19 in this committee's top 25, and the other team has 0, that trumps one difference in the loss column, in my opinion. Your opinion's probably different.
Yeah.
Everybody's opinions are going to be different on that. But where I agree with you, Tyler, where it's just interesting, they put Miami ahead of Ole Miss and South Carolina, but put it behind Alabama. Miami's resume also is not better than Ole Miss or South Carolina's. Miami's resume isn't better than BYU's that you pointed out earlier.
It's not better.
And they're all the way down at 18.
Not better in Arizona State.
It's not.
Yeah,
Resume, no. Miami's offense might be the best of anybody on this screen right now.
Miami doesn't even have the eye test argument.
No, they don't. I mean, Miami struggled with multiple
They've got Cam Ward
teams. Yes, they've got Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah.
A great passing game. That's it.
Yeah.
They've got a great passing game.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I mean, that's where I think that where the difference is here.
Yep.
I'm going to say it one more time. If you subscribe to the fact that so and so's got one less loss than the other team, and you believe that automatically makes that team with one less loss better than the other teams that are in question,
Mm-hmm.
again, you're probably beyond angry
Right.
at this, and there's going to be again no talking you down off. You sent to me earlier today in a text. You threw it out on our on X. For those of you that are joining us right now, looks like we've got over 1,000 people viewing right now on X. Appreciate you guys joining in. Uh, you tweeted out from our page today a scenario in regards to Boise, and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So I know, man, I know the obvious answer to this question, because we're talking about the Mountain West, we're talking about G5 teams, and most people out there are going to just scoff at it and think like, yeah, they're going to move down for sure. But we're talking about not punishing teams for losing their conference championship game. Lance just said it. If or for losing their conference championship game.
If you're squarely in the field right now, if you're
Correct.
squarely in the field going into conference championship game weekend, you're in the field by the committee. You should not be punished. Is what
Correct.
everybody is saying, except the committee. But that's what everybody else is saying.
So right now, Boise State's number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the committee is telling you 4 days before these conference championship games take place, the committee is telling you that they think they are either better or more deserving, whatever their criteria is. They're one spot ahead of Alabama,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So up to this point, through the regular season, the schedule they've played, it doesn't matter. Like everything's done. Strength of schedule, all out the window. Whatever their criteria is, they've got it.
Yep.
Boise State goes and they lose to UNLV,
Who they've already beaten
who they've already beaten one
at
time
UNLV.
on the road.
Yep.
UNLV gets the automatic G5 spot. How would it be fair for Boise State to fall out of the playoff by playing that extra game? They'd be better served right now to just get stuck in traffic on the way to the stadium and not be able to play that game because they'd be squarely in the field right now. In fact, they'd have a bye right now.
Okay. I want to preface this now. Most of you listening, I know, are saying, well, they're in the Mountain West. They should. I agree. We all understand that. Tyler said that at the beginning of this. But we're talking now mostly about, let's just say SMU, for example. Most people you hear say, if SMU loses, they should not be out. That's what everybody's saying. Okay. I looked this up today. Resume wise, Boise's strength of schedule is extremely close to SMU's strength of schedule currently. Boise plays the number 20th ranked team in the country this coming up week, and SMU plays the number 17th ranked team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Those resumes aren't going to change much in regards to strength of schedule and strength of record. They're not going to change much. Okay. So, again, if SMU is getting that argument by everybody, again, we're not saying the committee is saying this. We're saying that everybody else and us and other people are all saying that teams should not be punished that are in the field, in the current committee's field. If they're playing that extra game in the conference championship game, they should not get knocked out for playing that game and get passed by somebody that isn't playing in a conference championship game. For example, if SMU were to lose to Clemson, some people are saying Alabama should jump in the field and SMU should be left out. And I'm here to tell you, as an Alabama fan, that should not happen.
Yeah.
That just should not happen. That's a precedent that should not be set. And the only way that I will even hear an argument on that, if Clemson lays the rock bottom on SMU, stone cold stunners them in Charlotte.
Ohio State 2014 Big Ten championship style, not 59-0.
Yes. Like if there's a beatdown, okay, then logically, I will probably hear that argument a little bit. But even then, that's still tough, man, because like you said, SMU would have been better suited just saying their flight got messed up and couldn't make it to Charlotte and just stayed in Dallas.
So where I'm getting at with this is that UNLV gets the automatic G5 spot, and then Boise, in theory, should drop one spot, right? Because UNLV would move up ahead of them. They drop one spot, and it would knock Alabama out.
Yeah.
Now, again, does anybody think they're actually going to do that?
No,
Probably not, right?
no, they're not going to do that.
And then I'm sure they'll justify it, which again, it wouldn't make any sense at all because I mean, yeah, I don't know how that would make any sense. Like they're gonna be like, well, their resume, like, what are you talking about? They played an extra, like, they screwed up from the beginning, putting Boise State 10th in
Yes,
the country.
yes,
If
yes.
they were 18th right now, right in front of BYU, in front of all these teams, Arizona State, Iowa State, Clemson, they're all playing this weekend. If Boise State was 18th, nobody would say anything about it. But they're 10th right now, and if they're 10th after the regular season, and they're going to play an extra game, why in the world would they move behind?
No, I don't disagree.
Are they really going to put 2 Mountain West teams in? Probably not.
No, they're not. So yeah, that was a scenario you brought up today on X that I think that I never thought about it
Yeah.
until today. But you're right. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Next thing I wanted to talk about in regards to this was on the rankings. I think it's interesting of where they slotted in. Let's just say Ohio State. Let's go there. Their stinker that they laid against Michigan. By the way, the backlash from that, from every talk show, every podcast,
Yeah.
every TV talking head, Ohio State fans, unbelievable.
And
It was
can I just bring up the fact? I know what everyone's going to say, really. And Indiana went on the road as an undefeated team to the number 2 team in the country. Yes, they lost by 20 plus points. They dropped 5 spots. Ohio State's playing at home against a number not ranked team in the country, 6-5 team, who they're 20-point favorites over, and they dropped 4 spots.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree.
I'm not saying Indiana should be ranked ahead of Ohio State.
No.
I'm just saying the consistencies and how they're dropping teams and how many,
Yeah.
it just
and look, I'm not some like Ohio State fan or anything. I'm personally, when you look at the teams, I mean, I know that the recency of this, that Ohio State just lost the game, it seems like they probably should drop further. But again, when you look at the total body of work and the entire resume, I didn't have this on the bingo card tonight, but I guess I'm going to defend Ohio State a little bit here. They do have 2, like if you look at these rankings, there's 2 teams in this committee's top 9 that Ohio State has wins against.
And they lost to the number 1 team.
Does anybody else have Georgia? Georgia's the only other team in here that can say the same thing. So, again, who you've beaten, and when you have big-time quality wins like that, it needs to matter. It does need to trump the fact that you had a stinker of a loss. Now, you should be punished for the stinker of a loss, and they were. They were punished. But, like, is it probably as much as I think that the rest of the country would like to see? Probably not.
Yeah, and to defend Ohio State a little bit more, I personally got them ranked ahead of Georgia. Not that that matters, but Georgia just got taken at home to 8 overtimes by Georgia Tech. Right, could have very well lost that game, and so yeah, that's just a different story. I do think, and I'll bring up the bracket here. I think there was probably a little discussion. If it were me in there, it would be a little discussion of, hey, if we put Georgia in this spot, they're going to be slotted to face Tennessee at home in a game we just saw a month ago, right?
Yeah, so let me ask you this. Let's go back to that now again, what we were talking about in regards to if you win, lose, whatever. So Georgia's at 7. I'm looking at who's behind them. If Georgia loses in the SEC championship game, they shouldn't drop anymore, right?
No, I wouldn't think so. But that is, I mean, we've never seen a 12 team. We've never seen this before, right? So
yeah, we don't have any precedent before this.
What are they going to do with these Big Ten and SEC losers?
Yeah, I don't think. Again, I'll just give my opinion. If I'm on the committee, no, Georgia doesn't drop. Like they don't drop behind. They beat Tennessee, so Tennessee shouldn't move ahead. I beat them with 2 touchdowns. Tennessee shouldn't move ahead of them. Ohio State's not playing in a championship game. Ohio State should not move ahead of them. And they just lost to 5-loss Michigan, where they only scored 10 points in the game. So, yeah, I don't think that either one of those teams should jump ahead of Georgia if Georgia were to lose to Texas.
And you could make this. You could make the same argument though, like for Oregon, right? I mean,
if
if they lose to Penn State, like they didn't have to play that game. Like, if Penn State loses to Oregon, they're not dropping. I mean, I get the theory of it, but Penn State's losing to Oregon if they're not dropping. I know the automatic bid and everything, but Oregon, I don't know why we're playing these conference championship games.
Then there's the question. Now,
I don't know why.
There's the there's the mega million dollar question. Let me tell you why they're playing them.
Mega Millions. You just
Mega
said
Millions, exactly. Yeah. Like like playing Monopoly when you land on the most, profitable deal on the board. That's these conference championship games. These TV spots for these conference championship games are mega millions of dollars. Just go look at the pissing contest that CBS and NBC and Fox, what they had to host the Big Ten championship game on their network, and how much money they're paying to have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think if you ask a lot of these coaches, man, I think they'd tell you like, nah. Like, you think Oregon wants to travel all the way across? I mean, again, look, as a competitor, your first year in the conference, sure, they're going to say all the right things. And Dan Lanning is such a freaking just dog of a mindset. Yeah, I'm sure he's like, we'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere. It's our first year in the Big Ten. We want to go take this trophy and blah, blah, blah. But probably behind closed doors, just him by himself, sitting around, chilling, talking with him. If you didn't have to go all the way across the country to Indianapolis, Indiana, to cross 3 time zones this weekend to play Penn State, and you would be the 1 seed because if you played 12 games this year, and this one game is going to knock you possibly all the way back to the 5th seed, would you rather not play it? I think he'd tell you, yeah.
I mean, we're getting off into the weeds here, but
that's fine.
In a couple of years, they should just go to 16 teams. They should cancel the conference championship games. They should start this, a little earlier in December, and because Oregon's played a whole regular season, they've earned a bye right now, and it could come down. I mean, honestly, if it's a close game, it could come down to a bad call or a bounce of the ball, and they're all of a sudden they're playing in 2 weeks and they don't get a bye, and it's just the whole body of work down the drain.
But hey, by the way, now I want to take everybody's attention to this graphic here of everybody has told you this, and we've told you this since back when they created the 12-team playoff. That 5 seed.
Yep.
Is extremely coveted. Let me, again, look at this bracket. Would you rather be Penn State or would you rather be Oregon?
Yeah.
If you're Penn State, you're going to play right now. They're playing Arizona State and then Boise.
Yeah, or Texas, right?
Or Texas.
I mean, you're likely going to play Georgia for a third time right now.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there and you're Alabama, Notre Dame, yeah, that'll be a tough game. But whoever wins that is going to be favored against SMU by double digits.
Yep. So again, that how they've created this playoff, there's so many flaws to it, and the four automatic buys for the highest ranked conference champions. That we've already talked about this. And there's a lot of people that have talked about this. That is one thing that they've already publicly said that they don't know exactly what they're going to do after next year, the start of the 2026 season, but they do know that that's going away. Mm-hmm. They're not going to give the 4 buys, the top 4 seeds, to the highest ranked conference champions. They're going to give them to the highest ranked teams in the country.
Yep.
Which is how it should be.
Yeah.
It should not be a scenario where the 5th seed is more beneficial than the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're Oregon, you're going to play either Ohio State or Tennessee in the second game, in your first game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Penn State in the 5th seed, you're getting in Arizona State and Boise. Which is harder, playing Arizona State and Boise, playing Arizona State on your home field, and then playing Boise on a neutral site?
Yep.
Or having to play Ohio State?
Yep.
I think we all know the answer to that.
You and
if we're being real with ourselves.
You and I will be in Indianapolis on Saturday night,
Oh.
watching Oregon versus Penn State in Lucas Oil Stadium right here.
That's right. For those that don't know, Tyler lives in Indy. He's an Indianapolis guy. He's a Colts season ticket holder.
Mm-hmm. Last year. Different story.
So we'll be we'll be there. If you are watching us live right now, and if you're going to be in Indianapolis this weekend, hit us up. Like I said on our previous episd, we love cold beer and good food, and we'll be downtown Indy, taking it all in, watching the SEC championship game somewhere. If you're in town and want to come grab a beer with us and talk some ball, we're in.
So my point to that was we'll be watching and we'll watch really closely to see just how hard Oregon really is trying, or are they trying to get that 5th seed? Again, we're not making any accusations. Dane Lanning's a competitor; he's gonna want to win that game, but we'll see. We'll see if we see anything interesting. Throw out a scenario here: Clemson beats SMU, so Clemson gets the ACC championship. And Boise State wins. Arizona State takes care of business. Penn State will be playing Clemson first round instead of Arizona State. SMU would not have. Boise would actually go to the 3 seed then. So then that Alabama Notre Dame game winner would play Boise State. Arizona State would go to the 4 seed. So Penn State or Clemson would play Arizona State, because Clemson's not jumping Arizona State if they win that game.
Whoa. So Alabama would be out though, right? In that scenario, if Clemson wins?
If what you're saying is true and they're going to keep SMU in, yeah, I guess it would probably be Notre Dame versus, SMU maybe. We'll say Notre Dame versus SMU, and then they would face Boise, right? So then Notre Dame would have an extremely easy path with, again, figuratively, Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois here. So Boise State, then SMU, then Boise State.
Yep.
And then, so Clemson wouldn't get a bye. They'd be a 12 seed, and they'd play Penn State.
Yep.
So just all kinds of different scenarios we could throw around here. I don't know. I don't really know.
Dude.
So
hang on. I just thought about this. Again, my math could be off here. So if Georgia wins the SEC championship, they're going to slot into that 2 seed.
If
more than
Oregon
likely
wins.
the 2.
Yeah.
I mean, could be the 1. I know you disagree with me on that. Could be the 1. But either way, they're going to be 1 or 2.
Yeah, I just think Penn State being 2 spots ahead of them in the rankings, beating the only undefeated team left, I think they would just jump them to number 1.
I don't know if you know where I'm going with this or not, but
if
you just slide everybody back, brother. Notre Dame moves down 1 more spot to the 7 seed. Who they playing in the first round, dude?
The Hoosiers?
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
State of Indiana, Notre Dame, and Indiana at the Golden Dome in South Bend.
So you
live in that state.
Do you think, I don't know, I just don't know how they're going to do the rankings, but do you think Tennessee, Ohio State is that locked in, basically? They're not playing? What could make that change?
Unless I'm wrong, unless I'm just not seeing something here, I think the only matchup on this board that is absolutely locked in at this point is Ohio State, Tennessee.
Is there anything that can make that change? Hit us up in the live chat. I'm struggling with,
because I'm trying. Okay, if Oregon loses and Penn State wins, Oregon's going to go to the 5. That's a guarantee that Oregon will get the 5 seed. They're not the Big Ten champion. They move out of the top 4 buys. They get that highest ranked seed that's after that, which is the 5 seed. And whoever loses the SEC championship game is going to be after that,
unless it's Notre Dame.
You talking about Notre Dame for the 5 seed?
I don't think Notre Dame wouldn't be ahead of Oregon for the 5 seed.
No,
but Notre Dame would be ahead of probably the SEC loser for the 6 seed.
Yes, I'm saying
it'd be a toss up between them and Texas.
I'm saying Georgia. I'm saying that if Texas loses, I think Texas is going to be the 6, and Notre Dame is going to be the 7.
Okay,
is what I'm saying.
Okay,
but
I could see that.
But here's the thing: resume wise, Texas and Notre Dame's best wins are against a common opponent.
Same on the road, both by 10 points.
Yes. So, and then after that, it's not like Texas has a bunch of great wins.
Right.
So you could make an argument. Again, obviously Notre Dame with that terrible loss and Texas's losses to Georgia.
Yeah.
I think they'd have Texas at 6 and Indiana at 7. I mean, Notre Dame at 7. And I think you would get a Notre Dame Indiana matchup.
Okay.
In that scenario.
So as we're looking at this, we don't think there's anything that could change that Tennessee-Ohio State matchup.
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. But obviously, who knows? Like you said it a minute ago, we've never had this happen before where we have a 12-team playoff. We don't know what the committee's going to do. We don't know how they're going to move teams around. But how I would do it, Ohio State and Tennessee aren't playing. So I don't know. I don't think they should move up.
Could SMU jump anybody if they beat Clemson. Actually, they would be at the bye, so it wouldn't matter.
Correct.
Um,
But if they lose, I just think they replace Alabama or Arizona State. And Clemson would be the other one between like SMU and Clemson. Like if SMU loses and Clemson's in, I don't see Clemson jumping all the way up above Boise. Do you?
no.
No.
That's what my scenario was. I don't think Clemson would even get a bye. I think they would play Penn State first round as a 12 seed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think
So,
the two AC if Clemson wins, I think the two ACC teams are going to end up being 11 and 12.
so we think 8, 9, and 10 are locked in. Ohio State, Tennessee, and Indiana.
Probably. I'm not positive on Indiana, but probably. I'm not sure. I don't know what the scenario would be where they would drop a spot. Because, like, again, if SMU loses, I don't think that they just
Fall behind Indiana.
I think they fall. Yeah, I think they would fall behind Indiana.
Oh, really? So, well, I thought you said earlier.
No.
that,
You're right. You're right. If SMU loses, yes, then they would stay at because they're currently 9, right? Ranked 9 or 8. They're ranked 8.
SMU is ranked 8th. Indiana is ranked 9th.
Okay, so yeah, I think SMU would stay ahead of Indiana.
So really, the only thing that can kick Alabama out is if Clemson were to win.
Yeah, it's very simple.
I guess, in the doomsday scenario, UNLV beats Boise State and they somehow think, oh, maybe we should keep Boise State ahead of them.
So I think it's pretty simple. If you're an Alabama fan, you are a SMU Mustang, huge Rhett Lashley and Ponies fan this Saturday.
Yeah, and Lance will probably have his phone out at the Big Ten championship game, watching that game a little bit. So
maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that simple. If Clemson wins, Alabama is going to be knocked out, probably.
Yeah.
Unless the committee does the unthinkable, which is drop SMU out for losing their conference championship game. Which you think people are mad tonight.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, my goodness. How mad everybody will be.
Yeah, and we've said it before. Lance is an Alabama fan, and that would just be a terrible precedent to set.
I'm an Alabama fan, and I do not believe that should happen. I'm an Alabama graduate, alum. I do not believe that should happen. If SMU loses the conference championship game, they should not be punished because they are squarely in this field currently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about resumes or anything else at that point. The committee, as of right now, going into these extra games, these conference championship games, they believe that SMU is one of the 8 best teams, most deserving teams, however you want to say it. They believe that they are the 8th ranked team in the country at this moment. And they play an extra game, and Alabama doesn't. And then you punish SMU because they played this extra game. That's a bad precedent to set going forward.
Yep.
So
let's see how the BCS compares.
All right.
So we got these same 2 at the top, and then looky there. We got Notre Dame at 3.
Yep.
BCS has always been really smart. Penn State at 4, Georgia 5, Ohio State 6, SMU up at 7 ahead of Tennessee in the BCS. Interesting. Indiana 9, Boise 10, Alabama 11. BCS had South Carolina 3 spots ahead of Ole Miss, and honestly, that's because the BCS probably has always factored the AP and the coaches poll in a little too much. Actually, props to the committee. We slam the committee every chance we get. Props to the committee in our mind for actually getting the Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina ranking correct. They got Miami, Arizona State, all that stuff. They got Memphis in there. I mean, it's pretty standard. Just a couple changes at the top. It would be interesting to see kind of a seeded bracket here. Looks like SMU would get the bye stuff. It looks like Ohio State would still. That ranking really doesn't matter. SMU would still get the bye. Tennessee would still go to Ohio State. Everything would be pretty similar, except Notre Dame would get the 5 seed. So,
interesting that they've got Alabama and South Carolina ahead of Miami, like we thought they should have been.
Oh yeah, and I would have.
Interesting they've got
Ole Miss behind Arizona State.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would have Miami. Miami would be in front of Clemson, behind BYU.
Yeah.
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 I mean, again, Miami has no quality wins. 0.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got 2 losses. They've only got 2 losses, and they're not bad losses. They're not great losses. They're not bad losses,
Yeah.
but they have 0 quality wins. It's
Yeah.
that's really that's why there is no conspiracy against Miami. Miami's a huge brand, so it can't be brand bias. It's the fact that Miami has no quality wins and their defense is absolute booty cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yeah.
They've
So,
got an incredible quarterback and an awesome offense.
mm-hmm.
It's fun to watch and can light it up. But that should not get you in the playoff because, well, they've got a Heisman Trophy candidate at quarterback, and I'd like to see him in the playoffs. That doesn't get you in the playoff. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
literally saw some people saying today that they think Miami should be in because Cam Ward would be fun to watch in a playoff.
Might as well just put Colorado in then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Jake Crane said that today too. If
Yeah.
that's the case, then put Colorado in. They'd
Yeah.
be they'd be entertaining.
Yeah. So everybody from 12 down, sorry.
Yeah.
Better luck next year, except for Arizona State, Iowa State, and Clemson, and UNLV.
Yep.
At-large bids, better luck next year. Don't lose to Syracuse. Don't lose to Kentucky. Don't get blasted by Ole Miss. Yeah. So y'all had your chances, and I know everyone's going to say the same thing about Alabama, but listen, they made this a 12-team playoff, okay? You got to find 12 teams from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we're already getting teams like Boise in there. Okay, you get the G5, they're getting a seat at the table, and they finally get a chance, right? And that was kind of the whole argument today. They get a chance, whereas in past years, they never got a chance except for Cincinnati. So they get a chance. Indiana's in there, whether or not you think about them, they're in there. So all it did was, as Pate said the other day, all it did was give a lot of the brands and a lot of the blue bloods and the big dogs of college football more mulligans.
Yes, you're giving teams that have talent that are just ridiculous NFL players all over the place,
Yeah.
like a Georgia, for greatest example is Ohio State. Ohio State in a 14 playoff, their season's over.
Yeah.
After the Michigan game, they're out. They're not even in the Big Ten championship game. They're done. Season's over. You're giving a team like Ohio State with first round players all over the place and great talent another shot at this.
Mm-hmm.
Extra, more life. You're giving teams like that more life.
Yeah.
You're giving an Alabama team who is flawed as could possibly be a chance at 9-3 to possibly sneak their way into the back end of this playoff. And like you said, this playoff, man, is not like I heard somebody today on Greg McElroy and Cole Kublik, Mac and Cube. They're out of Jocks 94.5 there in Birmingham, Alabama. I heard some of their stuff they were talking about. A caller, I can't remember who it was calling in. Oh, it was the Oregon guy. Wanted to be the writer for the Oregon Ducks for the Oregonian.
Mm-hmm.
He made a lot of good points, by the way. But they asked him, if you had to make a decision right now, who do you think the national champion comes from the Big Ten Conference? And he quickly answered, I'm going to give you a college basketball answer. I need to see the bracket first.
Yeah.
I need to see who matches up with who. Because that's true. We all know when March Madness rolls around, it's not about who the best team is or anything like that, unless the last couple of years with Hurley and UConn. But you normally wait to see the bracket and who those teams are going to match up with.
Yeah.
Because it's all about matchups.
Yeah.
So if you have a certain team that's getting matched up with, no offense, but getting matched up with Arizona State and Boise, as opposed to matching up with Ohio State and Tennessee in 2 games, I mean, that obviously helps your chances of winning the national championship. So these matchups and how they've got you seated is going to be the number one factor in who wins this national championship.
Yeah.
One
thing they could do in a couple of years to spice things up would be to obviously get rid of the buys that go to the conference champions. If they wanted to perhaps keep that and reward conference championships, why don't you just reseed the bracket after every round? And if Arizona State were to go into South Bend or to Happy Valley and upset Penn State, great. Or Arizona State then gets to play Oregon. They're the lowest remaining seed left. Oregon would get the lowest remaining seed left. Right? They earned their way to that number 1 seed. Instead of having Arizona State play Boise State. That's not going to bring many eyeballs to the table for ESPN. You'd have a better luck, splitting up these matchups. But um, I just think rewarding teams who had successful regular seasons as much as you can, who the committee thinks has had successful regular seasons. I think rewarding those teams is probably the easiest thing in the world to do. But they don't think about that stuff. They don't think about that stuff in advance, man.
No,
It's that's just what they do.
and hey, I want to take a moment here. Thank everybody for joining us live here tonight. We've got over 2,000 on
Mhm.
X right now. I haven't seen
Yep.
the YouTube feed, but we appreciate you joining us in.
Yeah.
Just a couple dudes that love talking college football here.
Yep.
Let's kind of put a, unless you've got some other things you want to talk about,
No.
kind of want to put a bow on it. If you missed it early on, when they obviously the number one thing that most people were looking at tonight was who was going to be ranked number 11, because after that, there's no more at large teams that have a shot to get in. And it
Mhm.
was between those teams that are in order right there.
Yep.
It was between Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. And for those that believe that if you think that there's brand bias is the reason that Alabama got in, there's nothing that's going to change your mind on that. And if you believe that Miami should be there because they have 2 losses and the other teams have 3 losses, again, I'm going to repeat this. If you look at the 25 teams on this board, this is the committee's top 25. Tell me who Miami beat on this screen. You're going to be looking for a long time because there's 0. There's 0 teams on this list that Miami has beaten. If you look at this list a little harder, there's number 5, there's number 14, and there's number 19. That's who Alabama beat. That trumps the fact that there's one difference in the loss column, in my opinion. Your opinion may be different. How you subscribe. You may be just a fan of Miami too much and you can't see past that. That's fine. I get it. But in regards, again, to South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Alabama, it's not about what you've done in the last 10 days. It's not about what you've done in the last 6 weeks. There's a reason that they play 12 games in a season. It's about what you do in an entire body of work across an entire season, okay? And head-to-head is not everything. It's not. But when you have teams that are same records in the same conference and very similar resumes, what do you think should matter? They played on the field. Who won the game has to matter.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And that is why Alabama and Ole Miss are ahead of South Carolina.
Yep.
Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks are an incredible story, and they're a really good football team. And I'll be the first to tell you there's a lot of teams on this list ahead of them that do not want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't blame you.
Yeah.
It's a really good football team. But South Carolina didn't get in because of a conspiracy theory or because of a brand bias or anything like that. And I'll say it again. If you flip-flopped South Carolina and Alabama, just flip-flopped the resumes, would anybody out there be pining for Alabama to be ahead of South Carolina in that scenario? If South Carolina beat Alabama head-to-head and they beat Georgia and they beat Missouri and had 3 top 19 wins and beat Alabama head-to-head,
Mm-hmm.
would people be pining for Alabama to be in over South Carolina? No, they wouldn't. So, again, I know there's a lot of people hurt out there today. I get it. If you're a South Carolina fan, I completely understand it. Like,
Yeah.
you ever, like, I'm sure you're very upset about this. But hey, next year with Dylan Stewart and Lenore Sellers and that crew coming back and what Shane Beamer's building there,
Yeah.
it's going to be a really good football team. And if you're angry about this Alabama stuff, guess who you get to host next year in Williams-Brice Stadium?
Mm-hmm.
You host Alabama in your house next year.
Yeah. And in that same respect, Ole Miss has shellackings over the number 5 and number 14 teams.
Yeah.
South Carolina has wins over the number 17 and the number 19 teams.
That's
Miami
it.
should be behind both of them. Arizona State's got wins over number 18. And so it just
Again, how about
doesn't make-
BYU with a win over number 8?
Mm-hmm.
And today, is that it as far as in the rankings here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Win over number 8, that's more than Miami can say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, BYU's resume, strength of schedule,
Yeah.
and resume is better than Miami's. and they're back at 18, and Miami's up at 12.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I don't. I think the only thing that they really got wrong in that scenario was like you pointed out earlier. Like, why is Miami ahead of Ole Miss and South Carolina?
I
Why are
we
they
didn't get to
behind
watch.
Alabama?
Yeah, we didn't get to watch Ward Manuel. I want to go back and see what he
Yeah,
said, but I wonder if they even asked him about it. I'm sure they did. I'm sure people are talking about it on X right now.
ooh, I'm
So
sure they are.
looking forward to figuring out the rationalization and the explanation for that.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, it's gonna be. Listen, everybody watching, it's gonna all work out. But on Sunday, we're gonna know exactly who's in this thing, and then guess what? We get to focus on playoff games and a lot of them for the next couple of weeks,
yeah,
and
we do.
it's all
Because
gonna be
like,
fine. Every year, there's controversy for most years of the 4-team playoff. We get to the bowls, and it's awesome on New Year's Day and everything. I think it's gonna be the same thing for the 12-team playoff.
and guess what's going to be a guarantee next year and the following year and the following year and the following year? If we have 12 teams or 14 teams or 16 teams, whatever it is, now with this many teams in the playoff, whoever's going for those last spot or last two spots, they're going to be flawed football teams.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's flawed, Miami's flawed, South Carolina's flawed, so is Ole Miss.
Yep.
You're not a 9-3 team if you're not flawed. You're
Right.
not a 10-2 team with the 58th ranked strength of schedule if you don't have flaws,
Yeah.
which is what Miami is. So it's not necessarily like all these teams are so deserving. Well, there's 12 spots and you got to fill them with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to look at resumes, all that stuff.
Yep.
And I think the committee got it right in
Yep.
that scenario. Uh, Again, if you're listening, if you're going to be in Indianapolis this weekend at the Big Ten Championship to see the Ducks and the Nittany Lions lock up at Lucas Oil Stadium at 8 p.m. Eastern, me and Tyler here will be there. Tyler's an Indianapolis resident. I will be going to visit him. We're going together. We'll be at one of the sports bars somewhere there nearby, Lucas Oil, watching the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it out on X.
Yeah.
If you're fan of the show, or if you want to come talk some ball with us and have a beer with us, come on.
Yeah. Come
We'll
hang.
be there.
Yep.
And also, our next episode will drop. Will it drop Thursday
Friday.
night?
Yeah,
And
Thursday
Friday
night on
morning.
YouTube, Friday on audio, and then we'll be back on Sunday live for the playoff rankings at we believe noon Central is when they're going to get this thing rolling. Lance is going to get on the road back to St. Louis pretty early on Sunday morning so he can hop on live. So we'll be back then. And yeah, I promise it's going to be all right. Life's going to move on. We're going to have football to talk about. We got some good stuff planned next week. We might have some friends of the podcast joining on an episode next week to kind of break down some playoff stuff. So keep an eye out on that. And we're excited, man. And it just comes down to a couple teams, comes down to conference championship games. It'll be interesting to kind of set the precedent for years coming on how they're going to do this thing. So
I agree.
that's it.
You got any best bets?
I don't have any best bets. I know you might.
I don't, man. I don't.
No, nothing yet. Okay.
I checked a little something today that I've made it,
Okay.
but I don't know that, like, I placed it, but I don't know if I want to just give it out publicly or not yet because
Okay.
I got a little nervous.
Okay.
I checked the weather there in West Point
Yep.
there with the troops, so I got
Yeah.
I don't know how much them boys from NOLA are gonna love that weather up there in West Point.
Night game too. So that'll be fun to
Yeah,
watch.
it's gonna be chilly.
Yeah. All right. That's it for us. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Big time audience tonight. Big time audience on YouTube. This has been a blast. We'll be back on Friday with our conference preview episode. And then, yeah, make sure to tune in Sunday for our live show during the college football playoff final reveal. And we're going to talk in length about that. And it's going to be a fun time. So appreciate you guys joining. If you're not subscribed, hit subscribe on YouTube. Hit follow on Spotify if you're listening, and on Apple. Hit follow us on Twitter. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.